Well, welcome everyone to our Bueller and Friends call for tonight. It is August 19th, and I'm so glad to be on with you. Before we get started in our slides, I just wanted to invite any of you to share if there's anything that you are excited about that is going on with your business or going on with RLV or with other health improvements you've seen. So feel free to share if you have something you'd like to share with us. While you're thinking about it, I'll just share something that happened this week that I think is pretty exciting. Gosh, it was probably a month and a half ago or so. I was in an airport, and I had some extra time before my flight was going to go out, and I was sitting waiting to go through security, and I thought, well, I'll just sit down and take a shake while I'm waiting. And so I sat down next to this older lady, and she just introduced herself, and we started talking. She goes, oh, what are you taking? And so I said, well, this is my Relive Nutrition drink. And I said, let me tell you, it has done so much for me. And turns out she was talking about how she had some health issues, but mostly she was concerned about her granddaughter who was struggling with RA and some migraines, excuse me, and her daughter had autoimmune disorder too, and so I said, I'd be happy to talk to them. There are so many people that have had help with those things. And so we exchanged phone numbers, and it just kind of went by the wayside. I got busy with life, and I probably wasn't really great about following up, but I thought, well, she kind of started getting a little defensive, so I thought I would just need to kind of back off. Well, then after about a month, I got a phone call, and she said, hi, do you remember me? I met you at the airport. And I'm like, yes. She goes, I just want to let you know that my daughter's going to be calling you, and here's her name. And I said, okay, what person is going to be calling me, because usually they'll say, oh, yeah, I'm going to call you, and then they never do. Well, then here again, about a week later, her daughter did call me, and we've been communicating back and forth, and we're working on setting up a three-way and stuff. And so sometimes just those little experiences you have that you think, well, maybe it's not going to come to fruition of anything, the right place, the right time, the right person who's really looking for a solution, they'll be open to it. So don't dismiss it, even if it seems like it's something that, well, it was a good try, but it probably didn't work, because you don't know at what point someone's going to say, I'm ready now. So anyone else have anything to share? Give it just a few more seconds, and if not, oh, okay, go ahead, perfect.
Lauren's here.
Hi, Lauren.
We had an old customer that stopped taking the product several years ago, and it was kind of a weird, I still couldn't exactly figure out why she decided to get off product, but, it's just being friends and keeping in touch, and so I was excited to share when the RLV line came out, and I've just kind of been spoon-feeding her stories from the hemp group, and she just was always affirming how much she loved hearing the stories. And there was something in particular that was shared that I just said, hey, this made me think of you. I know you were dealing with similar things once upon a time. And she said, well, those things are in check right now. I said, oh, great. She said, but I was actually looking at the balm because of some skin issue that she has. And I was like, okay, that was out of left field. And it was just funny that she'd kind of given me a no thanks, I kind of considering, but she was really reluctant for whatever reason. And but anyway, yeah, today I sent her a screenshot of Jennifer Eve's husband's psoriasis before and after, and she was just blown away. And we're just right. I just said, did you want to give it a try? And just was very forward about it, and she said yes. And so sent her a link, and she sent me a message like 5 minutes later, done and done. And of course the notification popped up on the app, and that's always fun too. But it's just funny that you just meet people where they're at and just share your excitement and your heart, and it's amazing what happens. So yeah,
that's awesome. So you took a screenshot of a posting of Jennifer Eve's husband and some other little stories from people that had shared their results and sent them to her?
Yeah, I'd send her some of the videos, the Roger Broberg, when he got his results at conference, and our friend Rachel's story, and So those were videos, but today it was all just screenshots of things that people had shared. So the entire interaction was all via text message.
That's awesome.
Which, I know, it's crazy. So continue to follow up.
That's so cool.
Yeah, she's excited.
Very, very cool. Thank you so much for sharing. Those are some great ideas. And here again, you meet people where they are and you communicate through the system that they feel most comfortable with. And some people, that's what they want to do is just text. So. Okay. Anyone else really quick want to share? If not, I'm gonna move on. All right. Okay, so today we have some inspiration and advice for your life and business from some different people that I have attended lectures from or be in their presence to be able to learn from them. And I thought I would share those tidbits of wisdom and thoughts as how they can apply to our life and to our business in particular. First of all, we need to have a desire to learn. When our desire to learn is stronger than our comfort in staying where we are, we become teachable. Now, I wrote this down as anonymous because I forgot to, took those notes of somebody, it was some place that I'd heard this and I forgot to write down who said that, so I don't know who said it. But I thought that was really powerful, that we have a place that we can feel comfortable in, but when we really yearn to learn, more than we want to sit and be comfortable where we are, that's when we become teachable. And in Relive, being teachable, I think, is really important. It's important for us as distributors, but it's also important for our customers. And I know that my sponsor told me that the things that are the most key thing for people to get results is to be teachable. That was one of the key things, to be teachable and to really be, wanting to learn how to do this. And we need to ask ourselves, what do you need to learn? What do I need to learn? What is it that I feel like I am not as strong in, that I want to be able to be stronger in? And find somebody that can teach me sometimes, or some method. Sometimes you might hear something on a webinar, you're like, oh my gosh, that's just what I need. That's that missing puzzle piece for me to kind of say, okay, how to motivate myself to move forward in this area or in this area. And, we need to be open to learning, because sometimes it's easy to get in a rut and say, this is the way I'm doing it, this is the only way, and we need to kind of expand our view out and say, you know what, maybe there's more than one way to approach this, and if the approach that I'm taking isn't as fruitful as I would like, maybe I need to shift, and I need to kind of network out and put some feelers out and say, how do you do this? How do you do this? How do you do this? And as we are willing to become teachable and to kind of plug into the things that will help us to learn, then it can help us bridge ourselves from where we are to where we want to be. Then the next slide is about learning from an astronaut. Not quite 2 years ago. No, actually it was less than a year ago. Time is kind of going so fast, it's hard to keep track. But this was last October, when I was still down in Houston, and in that area there's so many opportunities to hear from people in the space exploration field, and we went to a particular lecture to hear Walt Cunningham. He was an Apollo 7 astronaut. Actually, he was the lunar module pilot for that particular mission, that they were up in space for 11 days, and that was the first launch of a manned Apollo mission. And you can see, for those that have the video, you can see on the right is a picture of him at that time, and then he came and spoke at Space Center Houston. And he shared some really fascinating information about his thoughts as far as his experiences as an astronaut, but also things that can help us, I think, in our general lives. He said, you have to be willing to stick your neck out. And, that's something that's really, he walked that walk. The people back in Apollo mission time for space exploration, it was not a real solid thing that they would necessarily go there successfully and come back. They had to be willing to kind of put themselves out there and say, you know what, I'm going to have courage. I am passionate about this. This is something I think is really important for me to do, and push through that fear of saying, well, what if this and what if that? So, we can learn from that and say, do we stick with the safe thing to do? And maybe that might be something for us to look at and say, what is one area that I want to challenge myself to have the courage to do something that's maybe hard for me to do, something that feels a little bit uncomfortable, but open my mouth to share with somebody. And be willing to stick our neck out, because that's where we're going to get the progress, is taking that courageous step to say, this is important enough, I need to say something. And he also said, there's something interesting about winners and losers, and I'd put this in the category of preparing for your win. He said, there will be winners and losers. Don't be afraid to lose, because it will teach you things that you will need to know to turn that failure into a win next time. And I thought that was really, really powerful, because sometimes it's easy to say, if I try this, I don't know if it's going to work out well. Or I did try this, and I thought it was going to be great, and it didn't. It was kind of a flop. It wasn't as fruitful as I thought. Nobody listened to me. They just kind of shrugged it off. But from the experiences that we have where maybe people aren't as fruitful, or maybe we had an idea for a booth and we try to put it together and we're like, okay, you know what, in the future I think I'm going to do it this way instead, or whatever our system or approach or thing to do is, whether it's a way to present Relive to other people, or whether it's just, worrying about, well, I'm going to talk to people and they're going to just kind of shrug me off, or they're going to just turn the other way. Whatever we do in the process of doing our business will help us learn what we need to do better in the future, and so that we can take those experiences that maybe weren't ideal, that some people would say were failures, but they're not really failures in the sense of it was an awful thing. It was something, according to Walt, and I think we all know this in our hearts, that we can take those experiences and learn from them so we can turn them into a win next time. Another person I'd like to talk about today that I found really inspiring is an artist. We can learn from an artist. His name is Tom Holdman. And the question you might have, the question that I had when I went to hear him was, there's lots of artists around. What is so incredible about him? I was at actually a dinner where he spoke, and it was from a financial planner that my husband and I have had contact with. And he said, oh yeah, we're going to have this great artist. And so this guy got up, and he looked very, like some miscellaneous guy off the street. He had blue jeans on and stuff. And I thought, well, who is this guy? And he started speaking. I realized, oh, that's our speaker for the evening. And this is something that was very interesting that I learned about Tom. Tom is a lifelong stutterer. He really struggled in school a lot, and probably because of his speech impediment. But he has now become a world-renowned stained glass artist. He has works in all 50 U.S. states, all over the world, including in 80 temples throughout the world. And he has an incredible, indomitable spirit. He shared his story with us that for people that stutter, I always thought it was just like they'd be in the middle of a word and then they would have a hard time kind of finishing and getting the rest of the word out. But Tom, it is like painful for him to speak. And at first it was difficult for me to even listen to him, because sometimes he would be talking smoothly and then he would get stuck, and it was like he would have to almost like throw his head back and just like push his head forward, almost like he was sneezing, trying to just get the other word out. And it was just, I'm like, oh my gosh, this poor man, why is he up here speaking? And I came to realize it doesn't matter, so he wasn't really smooth of speech. And that's actually played into his ability to become an incredible artist. He has never really been able to get on top of his speech difficulty, but he decided to throw his communication into art. And one thing that I found fascinating too, as I learned more about him, his father was a well-renowned photographer. He used to actually photograph a lot of pictures for National Geographic magazine and other magazines. And when Tom was 7 years old, he painted some rocks, and he showed his dad these rocks. And his dad said, "Oh my goodness, those are beautiful rocks. In fact, I'm going to take a picture of them, and because they're so good." And Tom said, that was something that really helped inspire him to feel like, oh, if someone who is like a well-known photographer thinks my work is good, then maybe it's worth pursuing. And it's kind of like when we're working with someone who is a new distributor, we need to help them feel good about their efforts to move forward. We need to help support them so that when they're tender and young in the business, they can feel like, okay, this is something I can do because someone's kind of helping me and encouraging me along the way. Tom has done exquisite work. The work that I saw was something that's in UVU, University of Utah Valley University, in Orem, Utah, and it's a work. This picture is a part of it, and I'll show you some other pictures that I took as a part of this work. This work is 10 feet high and 200 feet long. It's got 80 window frames and over 60,000 individual pieces in it. And it took 12 years to complete. And through his difficulty that he had in school, and as you quite imagine, people would make fun of him, the difficulty he had talking, he decided to go on a mission for his church. And some people were very interested and willing to listen to him, and other people would just kind of laugh at him and slam the doors. But he said through the difficulties that he had, he ended up learning how to push past that, because his ability to do these artwork pieces is based on his ability to communicate, to advocate for the fact that he has some great work that he'd be willing to do. And so he, goes and talks to university presidents, to the high-level executives and stuff, even though it's difficult for him to speak. But he's able to communicate and show his work and show how he can do it. And so he didn't let something that would be a hamperment for many people hold him back. And one thing that he said, it was really interesting, he said, with stained glass windows, each is made from a different colors of glass. Each piece of that glass has a crucial role to play. And even if a small piece is missing, the eye will be drawn to that part, that one part where there's a missing piece of glass. You need all the pieces. And as I was thinking about that in regard to our work with Relive, we need to have all the pieces of the Relive system that pull together to help us. And we need each other to help one another as we work our businesses and as we reach out to help teach people about it. And we need to be able to support each other in it, and also, like I said, have all the pieces of the puzzle that we tap into to get the strength and the support that we need to move forward with our businesses too. Everybody has unique talents. This particular piece, as you're going through seeing some of the pictures that I'm showing you, this Roots of Knowledge, his attempt was to take and chronicle the knowledge and the hope of the world from the very, very first part of the creation of the universe clear into the future. And they did tons of research. And so you can see some of these different pictures are representing different key elements and things in the world, from the history of the world. But he thought about the different people that he was representing and thought about what they had pushed through to do in their time period, even if it was hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And he thought, if they did it, why can't I? Why can't I add to humanity in my own way? And he urged us to think that for ourselves. What can we do to add to humanity in our own way? Each of us has unique talents that we can share, and maybe, the things that we can do to help improve people's lives and help them find the blessings that can come from Relive can help them, help us to help humanity in one little part with one person and another little person and another person. But it takes persistence, and that's what's important. One thing that was interesting about Tom, when he finally decided when he was around 21 that he really wanted to go into stained glass artwork, he didn't have any money. And so he opened up a studio in his parents' garage, and his parents were willing to park their cars out on the street for 2 years while he was trying to do that. And he went door to door explaining to people, I can do stained glass, and I would like to be able to do a piece for you. If you can prepay me, I can do that. Well, the interesting thing is he hadn't really learned all the techniques for stained glass, but he was very tenacious, and he knew that if he was motivated enough to make this work, and he would find a way to make it work. And so people basically paid him on futures, and with some of the money they paid him, he got this very thick book, which was from the Stained Glass Art Association or whatever, and studied up on it and created amazing things. And so people were able to, pay him to do that, which he used to get further training to do what he could do. But that was his way to add to humanity, is to create these beautiful pieces. We can add in our own way some things that are beautiful in the world as far as to help improve people's lives, and whether it's through health improvements or whether through finances. We can work forward with determination. He said, I am not anyone special. I just don't give up. When someone says no, it means maybe. And I know he spoke about how there was one time he went to a local library and he said, I'd like to create some stained glass art for you. And they said, well, I'm sure that would be very beautiful. We just don't have a budget for it. And so, sorry, I guess that we can't help you. And he walked away and he thought, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to find funding for it. And so it was the determination that he had to push forward that when people said, no, I just can't do that, that he said, no, I'm going to find a way to make this work. And so we need to realize that sometimes, like what Lauren said at the beginning of our call, where she had a customer and they kind of backed away and said, no, I'm not interested anymore. That, that doesn't mean the door slams shut forever and ever. It means maybe at the right time, the right place, sometime down the road, the right product, the right circumstance, that person might open the door again. And so we need to have the determination, not be pushy and unreasonable and hound people about it, because nobody wants that. But we need to show love and concern, and in the right place and the right time, then that determination can pay off. It's important for us to use our talents. Find our own niche. I know that the Lairds have this wonderful group there with the penguins, where they have a culture of positivity and of having different themes for different meetings and stuff. That's their niche. And other people, maybe their thing is doing booths, and maybe somebody else, their thing is doing a very business-like meeting. Find what resonates with you. Find a way to use your talents so that you can improve, your life and life for those that are around you. And as we do all this, we can add to life's tapestry. Everyone has moments of genius, but the key is, do you act upon it? When you have one of those, ideas that comes to your mind, you're like, oh my gosh, that would be so cool if I did this and this and this. Instead of just brushing it off or saying, okay, well, I'll do that sometime. Take it and say, dwell on it, think about it. Use your creative juices to come forward with ideas that you feel would be a great way to, reach out to people about Relive, or ideas of somebody that comes to mind that maybe needs Relive. Because I know there was one time that there was somebody I knew in my church, and she was talking about how her aunt was having this terrible health problem. And at the time, this woman was like 9 months pregnant. I thought, I don't want to talk to her about Relive right now. I'm sure she's going to go into labor like any day, if not any minute. I'll wait. And so I waited, and I thought, well, she has a young baby. Anyway, later on, I did say, no, about your aunt that was having these terrible health problems. She goes, oh, yeah, the doctors couldn't seem to help her, but there was, I don't know what she's taking it, but there's somebody, she got some kind of product from somebody, and she is doing fantastic now. And I thought, oh, I didn't know. She didn't know what the name of the product was. So I said, what is it? I was just curious if it was somebody who had helped her with Relive. And I don't know what it was, but I thought I could have taken that moment, but I didn't act on it then. And it really taught me, when someone's name comes to mind or you feel impressed that you should reach out and talk to somebody, do it right then. The fact is, everyone can add to the tapestry of life in our own unique way, whether it's through our own personal, idea that pops in our head, through our personality, through our talents, through our networking, through working with sidelines and teaming up together. Everyone can add in their own unique way, and we need to celebrate that and look for ways to move forward so that we can make our mark on humanity as we reach out to help people improve their lives. So that's all I have for tonight. It's kind of a shorter, sweeter training, but do you have anyone have any comments or thoughts that they want to share about any of the things that I brought up? If not, I hope that some nugget of what we went over tonight would be inspirational for you. And I wish you well and have a great Relive evening. Thank you. Good night.
April?
Yes.
I think the photos are amazing, or his talent that he has shared, and thanks for that with all of us. And, you know, it does let us realize that, you know, and I have this thing that hangs up in my house: when God closes the door, he opens the window. And so I kind of think where if he had the stuttering problem, he found that window, you know, and he used it to do all of his artwork with and to let the light shine through. And so definitely if we feel the door is closed, let's look, you know, deep within ourselves and see what we can come up with. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Oh, I've just finally seen the the little chat thing. I hadn't really gone through it. Just for those that aren't able to be on the video, we're talking about screenshots and how you get screenshots from your phone, and someone was asking about where Jennifer's hubby's results were. And there is a Facebook group called Hemp to Health, and you can contact. It says some different people in our group here and that are in Hemp to Health. And I know Joyce Ferguson is part of that group. And so if you can reach out to her, she can help with that. So, okay, thank you so much. I will go ahead and get the meeting closed then. Good night.